The views and opinions of this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers. There is substantial risk of loss in trading futures and options, which you should carefully consider prior to trading.
Make sure to subscribe to the Market Talk YouTube channel. You can watch our latest interviews with top market analysts in the country, find bonus content, and much more. It's easy. Just go to youtube.com/@MarketTalkAg and hit the subscribe button. Or you can search for Market Talk Ag on YouTube.
Well, joining us now on the program, we know that BRD is a very big health challenge facing the beef industry and current animal health practices. We want to focus on managing sickness, and also we want to focus on managing wellness. Here to talk with us about that today, Dr. Ron Tessman with Elanco Animal Health is joining us here on the program. And Ron, it's great to catch up with you again. Thanks for joining us on the show. Hope you're doing well.
Absolutely. It's great to be back. Great to talk to you, Jesse. And everything's great here right now in Kansas City. We're beautiful weather and it's a beautiful day.
Yeah, it has been beautiful weather across much of the country. And I think that's helped out a lot of our folks with calving season for sure, and not having any harsh cold and winter conditions. So that's a good thing. And I want to get to a few different topics here surrounding BRD, but I want to set this up. Tell us a little bit more about what it means to manage wellness, because I think that ties in real well with trying to mitigate some of these diseases in our herds like BRD. So what does it mean to you to manage wellness in our herds?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's something that really our group, as a group and as a company that we're starting to really focus on. And not saying that's the thing, this is not a new topic. But when you go through vet school, when you start to measure outcomes, quite often we focus on sick. And that's really important. Which animals are sick, which ones need to be treated. And we look at that as a way to evaluate our health programs or what's going on with our herd, how well we're doing. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't continue to do that, but I think sometimes by focusing on that sickness, and really, what are we doing for that sickness? What is that, that health in a bottle that I can recommend? That sometimes we miss that bigger picture, those things that, we learned from our grandparents, right? And our parents about what can we do to really focus on wellness. And I was fortunate enough just last week to go and talk to a group of producers up here in north of me, in northern Missouri. And it gave me a chance again to talk. We were focusing mostly on vaccines, which that is one of those things that we can think about as far as what can we help to ensure wellness. But I gave them pretty much my philosophy. And when we start to talk about wellness, it's like, especially in the cow-calf world, we got to start that calf off in the best possible way we can. And how do we do that? We got to make sure that cow, that heifer, that pregnant animal is in a great plane of nutrition, is ready to go so that calf can, develop in utero, using the buzzwords, of having, the best development possible, all those sorts of things. And then we get the calf on the ground, make sure that calf has adequate colostrum, make sure it's getting that first really injection, natural immunity that calf needs. And then from there, continue on. And so when we're thinking about wellness, really we're thinking about those management things, those things that we can do that I'm not saying that they don't cost time and effort. But a lot of times it's just looking at how we're managing our herd. What can we do to make the environment, make the situation better and set us up for having a successful calving, having a successful health throughout that calf's early development. And then we can layer on those things that are very important, like vaccination, right? Sure that making sure that we're providing the appropriate micronutrients, depending upon where we are in the country. Do we need to add copper or selenium or zinc, or maybe that's not what we need to do. But those are the conversations I think that we really need to start having around wellness. And then every place in the chain that we go through, there's different challenges around wellness and what we need to do to try and ensure the best environment, the best, as some people say, the best experience that calf can have, when it's moving from one place to another. And let's face it, when we talk about BRD, some of the number one things that, add to the severity of that disease are the stress that calf is under, right? The length of travel that calf goes, how long it is without having food or water or any of those sorts of things. And, some of those things are in our control, some of them aren't. But those things that we can control and do a better job of doing, how do we respond to the weather?
Sure.
Let's face it, that weather, as we were talking, depending upon what time of year, where you are, you may get some unexpected weather that really raise some challenges and make BRD a huge issue. And so if we have some plans in place to say, hey, can we bed that stall? Can we move them to a pasture that doesn't get as wet and muddy? Those are kind of some of the basic wellness things that we, as a group and me specifically are starting to talk about. It's not as, maybe as headline grabbing as the new product. And trust me, we're working on those things that we can too. I mean, as always, we're innovating and we're hoping to bring the best solutions that we can. And I've spent the better part of, my career as a veterinarian for sure, but in industry, 15, 20 years of working on BRD and developing products for BRD. And as I always say, I'd rather you not have to use some of these things, but if you do have to use them, that they're there for you to use.
Very true. Very true. Well, and thinking about managing wellness, and you brought up all across the cow calf operation, from our mama cows, the heifers, down to the calves that are just born, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of different things we can do to try and manage wellness. I just want to. What are some typical signs of a BRD infection in our cattle herds? Maybe a refresher for some folks. Some typical things that they need to pay attention for in the event that maybe they end up with BRD in some of their herd.
Yeah, so those things that we learn about, particularly in veterinary school, or as we're going through our ag education and talking about these diseases, so does the animal have a runny nose or weepy eyes? Is there a cough? Something more obvious. Are the ears, down? Is the head down? Is it depressed? Is it not coming up to the feed bunk? And all of those things, are telltale signs that, we certainly can be dealing with, a true respiratory disease. Are they having trouble, labored breathing, or is their breathing, faster than what we would expect? And so I think we do a pretty good job in general of being able to identify those things, especially, those people that are, I've always said, the people that are out with those cattle all the time, they'll beat a veterinarian every day, right? Because they're with those animals, day in, day out. They know what they look like. But there's also some other subtle signs that maybe we don't recognize as readily. What's that tail look like? Are they swishing away flies or not? Maybe it's not even fly season, but are they even recognizing that we're here? That's a thing. A down cow with its head down and not responsive, that's pretty easy to see. As my one one instructor would say, my mother can even see that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so and so, but those subtle things that we need to look for, is that calf coming up to the bunk, but it's not eating? Is that, and even if we think about a calf, it may go with its mother or go up to its mother, but is it actually actively nursing? And that's something that takes a little bit more time. to really take and evaluate and look at, because those are some of the number one things that we don't probably see. There's some good data out there that, where they put trackers on animals, and they've noticed that, several hours to even days before an animal breaks with a clinical, a visually clinical case of BRD, that they're going to start to move around less. They're going to start to come up to the bunk less. And even if they're coming up to the bunk, they may not actually be eating. They may just be standing there, just because that's where their buddies are. They're not feeling good enough to really get a full belly, but they're not feeling bad enough to be hanging back. Water consumption, it's hard to measure individually water consumption, but if we can look and, when was this animal last up to the, up to the water? And so that's one of those things, that we got to key in and tune ourselves to our animals to look for maybe some of those more subtle signs.
Well, Ron, of course, you brought up, folks who are with those animals every day, but I have to think that any sort of wellness management plan, got to make sure that your veterinarian is involved in that plan as well. And really having that plan in general is so important for your operation, isn't it, Ron?
Well, and that's the thing. We don't want to be caught flat-footed, right? We don't want to be like, oh, dang, this happened now, this bad snowstorm happened. We know it doesn't happen this time of the year, but every, so many years, now we're in trouble, right? We'd rather have, okay, what would we do in that case? And then, as you said, and this is for me, particularly coming from, I was in academia for a number of years, really enjoyed my time there and working with students and those producers that I was able to when I was in academia. But the thing that I would tell students, well, you need to do this vaccine here, and you need to do this deworming here, and this is the appropriate antibiotic here. The one thing that I've realized getting out in the field and doing the job that I have now is there's not one plan that works for every producer. And so it's so important to work with your local veterinarian. It's nice to be thought of as a leader or an expert in the field, but that local veterinarian is an expert in your area. They'll have an idea of, okay, what vaccines, are more appropriate for your area and when, based on what diseases they see and what kind of outbreaks they see and what your general climate is, even to what's your internal parasite pressure. What are we seeing for nutrient deficiencies in our area? And so absolutely important to involve that local veterinarian and really get them engaged in helping you develop these wellness plans. And again, the idea is if we can get these animals in a good wellness, good plane of nutrition, good immune system state, then we won't have to treat as many, right? Hopefully none, right? But we know there's probably going to be some. And so we're doing those things ahead of time is like putting credit in the bank, right? Or putting money in the bank. So we have credit to draw from should one of these things happen. We get a bad snowstorm, or we get we introduce some animals, or something happens, to help us get over that challenge, versus just barely skating by and then we get hit and now we have a lot of trouble.
Well, Ron, great thoughts thinking about managing wellness and managing BRD in our herds. Real quick, final thoughts from you. Anything else you'd want to share or reiterate with folks if they want more information, et cetera, things like that? What else would you want to tell us here today?
Yeah, we're at Elanco, we have our website that you can come to and look at, and we have a lot of different tools and resources for people to look at for a number of different diseases or whatever, but particularly for BRD. Remember that we have a lot of, as far as Elanco, we have a lot of these solutions, from vaccines to antibiotics to dewormers, and immunomodulators, immunostimulators, so non-antibiotic potential solutions. But at the end of the day, it's more about what can we do to prevent having the disease. And remember that we're here and we're continuing to work on products to help the producer, so that we can be a resource for producers and veterinarians.
Well, with that, Dr. Ron Tessman with Elanco Animal Health. Ron, thanks so much for joining us on the program, and we'll look forward to having a conversation with you again real soon. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jesse. I really appreciate it.